Alright, we're back with another live stream. Let's do AEW today. We haven't reviewed AEW here since All in Texas, so we didn't do the follow-up last week. I covered WWE instead, but now I'm gonna go back because it's Wednesday, and you know what that means. There's a new Dynamite tonight, so I'm gonna review everything from last week to set you up as a pre-game show for tonight's Dynamite. So, alright, July 16th, we're right off of Hangman Page dethroning Jon Moxley and the Death Riders as the new world champion. And right off the bat, first segment of the show, Hangman Page cuts a promo in the ring. Tony Schiavone introduces him. You get a "we deserve it" chance. Well, it was a "you deserve it" chance from the crowd, and then Hangman Page kisses their butt and says, no, you deserve it. So then they start chanting, "we deserve it." You know, I was going to take off a point for Hangman Page's pandering to the crowd as a babyface, but I'll give a half a point to the crowd today for the "we deserve it" chance. I think that was funny. I've never heard that. But yeah, as I was saying, Hangman Page, we don't do this for the titles, we do this for the fans. Yeah, okay. He's a babyface right now, so he really played that up. But he thanks a bunch of people. For some reason, he thanks Orange Cassidy. I don't know why. Edge, Jay White, the Ops, Daniel Bryan, Darby Allin, and Will Ospreay. A few of those guys helped him during his match. Ospreay got hurt. He did acknowledge that. And then he addressed Swerve Strickland, who also helped him during the match. He said, I don't know why he did it or who he did it, but he emotionally thanks him too. So he's proud of himself here, and he yells out that he's the champion of the fucking world, as we hear here.
And if you want to know what kind of man I am, you can look at me tonight, because I am the champion of the fucking world.
Yes. There you go, Hangman. Live it up. You're at the top of the world. Fine. So we got an opening segment. I don't think I cared much about his promo. Basic babyface promo. These are tough to do for me. It's kind of like, okay, we've reached the pinnacle. We got what we wanted. The babyface won. The Death Riders are supposedly ousted, which I don't know about that. We'll see. But yes, it's just going to be like a standard babyface thank you to the audience for supporting me type of thing. I didn't very much love it. But I think at the end of the segment, we got an announcement for a match. Let me take my picture off of here, because yeah, it's in the corner. It's a 6-man tag match for tonight. It's Hangman Page, the babyface, the new champion. He's teaming up with Will Hobbs from the Ops and Mark Briscoe, and they're going to take on the Death Riders. Okay. Interesting 6-man tag. I think I'm going to make a comment about the booking later on when we get there. I mean, Hobbs, he's involved with the Ops because he just defended the Trios titles, and then after that match at All In, the Ops took out Samoa Joe, put him out in the hospital. So I guess he has a reason to still be beefing with the Death Riders. Hangman Page won the title off of Moxley. Looks like that's continuing here. I'll comment on that later. And then Mark Briscoe has also had a feud with Jon Moxley in recent weeks. So I guess that makes sense as well. But all right. I'm going to save my comments for the main event when we get to the main event. For right now, I'm going to move on to the next segment on this show. We got a video package, okay, reviewing All In, just a general video package. I think everything, it kind of went up and down the card. And then after that, all right, here's another segment. It's an arrival to the building. It's Matt and Nick Jackson, and they're making fun of them because they're just in a regular Uber, not a limo. And they have to carry their own bags, so they're embarrassed, they're ashamed. They don't want to they don't want the cameras on them during this shameful time. But Okay, they're in a match tonight as well, an 8-man tag. We'll also get to that in a bit. But for this segment, I like this. I think there's heading in a new direction with them. At least they're not going to be like abusive EVPs. They're just going to come back down to earth and be part of the roster. I can accept this. So, all right. Moving on. Next match, we got the Proto Star, Kyle Fletcher. He's here with Don Callis. Don Callis is going to join commentary. And they show a replay of what happened at All In. He had a chance to win the TNT title, but it surprisingly went to Dustin Rhodes, who just was a replacement for Adam Cole. And so, yeah, Fletcher's here trying to get back on the board with a win. He's going to face Mascara Dorada from CMLL, but I guess he's got some relationship with AEW going where he's been wrestling here. So he gets a shot here, and this was not a bad match. There was a few spots in this show that I thought were pretty impressive. Kyle Fletcher aggressive early on, trying to make up for that loss. Here's a shot at Don Callis at ringside. Here's a tornado from Mascara Dorada out of the ring to Kyle Fletcher. I thought this looked impressive. You know what? For the entertainment value there, I'm going to throw in a half point to my Dynamite review. Let's try to beef up our score today, man. We're coming off of All In. We're trying to see if anything's going to happen with this show. There's another shooting star press, impressive looking one off the top rope or off the middle rope to the outside. So Mascara Dorada putting in some work today with the high spots. Here's another one. Damn, 450. All right, cool. Not bad. Impressive moves from Mascara Dorada. But we're going to skip to the finisher. It's Kyle Fletcher with the, what do you call that? The sheer drop brainbuster, which I've seen MJF use at times. And Kyle Fletcher with an impressive win. All right, so he's all psyched up about getting back on the win column. And we're off and running with another Kyle Fletcher run. I don't know. I thought he should have won the TNT title at All In. I thought Dustin Rhodes was a strange pick. It was a hometown guy at the moment, so maybe they just wanted a hometown pop. But, okay. We're probably going to head towards Dustin Rhodes versus Kyle Fletcher. Maybe that would be a good match, I guess. But as for this match, despite the high spots, I'm going to say I was indifferent to it. I could have lived without seeing it. But I'm moving on to the next segment. We got a backstage segment a bit earlier. Renee is interviewing Matt and Nick Jackson, and she's enjoying herself, asking about them not being EVPs. She's a little too happy about it. They call her rude and disrespectful and walk away. They don't want to talk to her. And then even Marina Shafir disses them as they are basically no longer useful.
How are you? There's a freaking fickle around here. What was that about everything we...
So that's funny. So yeah, the Death Riders appear to not really be aligned with the Young Bucks anymore. Since they have no power, why should they? Here's a production assistant taking off the EVP titles from their locker room, just putting Matt and Nick. They're like, no, man, it's Matthew and Nicholas. But nope, not anymore. They're back to being Matt and Nick. The disrespect. Even though they started this company. But I'm liking this. Honestly, I think this is kind of funny. I'll give it a thumbs up for this segment today. Even Ricochet, recent ally, disses their ass and walks off laughing. Don Callis approaches them, actually, to make an alliance, interestingly. So Matt and Nick, they say they don't want to join the family. They don't really like that idea, but they're willing to have allies because they could use some allies right now. So that's a decent idea, but I'm not going to give it any points. I'm not excited about it or anything, but they come to an agreement, it seems. And Callis gives them a hug, a weird, strange hug. Okay, I'm moving on, though. Here is a video recorded after All In the previous Saturday. It's a very successful day for the Hurt Syndicate as Benjamin and Lashley defended the tag titles. MJF won a contract to get a title shot whenever he wants it. So that's like a big, big thing. That's like the Money in the Bank briefcase. It's just on a clipboard, though. They should put it on a briefcase or something nicer. But regardless, they're here cutting promos. MJF or MVP talks first. He's begging for competition for their tag teams. It says he said he's heard so much about this famous tag team division. He's begging for someone to step up. And MJF, he addresses Hangman Page. So he says no, he thinks you're the best. Then he gets fired up. He's like, no, I'm the best. And in that MJF way, good shit here. This was a very good promo, very strong promo from MJF. And he says he's ready to send Hangman Page back into his depression. So he has no problem being the bad guy. And he did mention that he's still going to try to get that title off of Page just regularly and to keep this contract as a, thing in his back pocket that he could pull out at any moment. So that's interesting. He doesn't want to use that yet. He wants to sit on it and save it and keep it as a power play move. But all right, for this segment, I'm going to give this 2 thumbs up. Excellent, excellent. Really liked it. Not very consequential, just a little promo recorded after their success at All In. They were not even here today on this show, but I'll still give it a point. Next up, we got the 8-man tag. It's Matt and Nick Jackson. They're teaming up today with Josh Alexander and Hechicero. So Don Callis family people, as they have just made a little alliance. But this match was set up beforehand. So here comes Matt and Nick. Funnily, the graphics behind them say EVP no more. So they've changed their cool entrance. They don't have that anymore. And they're the names on their graphic just say Matt and Nick, no longer EVPs. So pretty funky. I'm amused by this. Their opponents today in this 8-man tag, it's Mike Bailey and Kevin Knight, and also Bandito and Brody King. So they show a replay also of Bandito retaining that Ring of Honor World title over the weekend. Before that, he rolled up to Keshta, and then he got stepped up to by Hechicero. So yes, this Hechicero Bandito thing does come into play in this match a little bit. They got a couple spots where they fought, and that seems like that's going to be the next Ring of Honor World title match. So they previewed that here. Here's a spot, though. I got a nice spot from the Jacksons, from the Young Bucks. So they're going to earn some points for this show with a spot. Let's see how it looks.
The Doomsday kick from Nick Jackson. The stomp. Oh, nice job.
Nice. That was interesting. I can't really describe that. That was very unique movement. And then, straight from that move,
boom combo. Tremendous. Escalera by Nick across the ring.
And then Nick Jackson with an Escalera, as Excalibur puts it. But yeah, that was a nice combo of moves. I'm going to give that a thumbs up to the Young Bucks. The Young Bucks actually earning some points for me today. I can't believe of anything that I've been enjoying on this show, it's been the Young Bucks. So I'm surprised. I'm kind of, I'm open to this. I'm not going to shut them out just because they're the Young Bucks. But I got another high spot here. It looks like Hechicero and Bandito.
We got Josh Alexander inside the ring and Bandito.
What the fuck was that? That was incredible. Hold on, we got to watch that one again. Look at this. He's got him. Wow, what? Dude, I've never seen that shit. That was incredible. I'm going to give that 2 points for Bandito and Hechicero with an incredible move off the top rope. I don't even want to try to describe it, but if you're on YouTube and you're not watching, try to pull out your phone and sneak a watch at this one. Rewind it a little bit and watch that. But I got to move on to the winner. The heels win. Bandito gets choked unconscious by Hechicero, so that makes me think he's not going to drop his title to Hechicero if he's jobbing to him here in a tag match. But the heels get a nice win. Don Callis and all his boys. So that's that. Did I care about the match? Not really. I'm not going to give the match anything as a whole. I gave a bunch of points for some spots, but that's about it. I'm going to move on. Next up, we got Edge. Okay, so Edge comes out. They show a replay of what happened at All In. Christian got turned on by his son, Nick Wayne, and then Edge kind of saved him. But Edge shows up and cuts a promo. He says he didn't show up at All In to save Christian. as he lists all the bad stuff Christian has done to him. He rejected him being a tag team, told him to, shove it up his ass or whatever he said. He promised to cripple him and then promised to be the new father of Edge's children, ruined Edge's title shot when he cashed in his title shot and got choked out in that match by Moxley. So yes, he said he just happened to be there. And he says he did warn Christian that his family would turn on him, but that he really came that night for FTR. So he's back because FTR put him out hurt for a few months in the storyline, and that's what he's back for, revenge on FTR. So he spends some time talking about their friendship and is pissed. He's pissed that they cost him so much precious time this late in his career, putting him out injured. So he came back to end FTR, as he puts it. So this brings out Stokely Hathaway. So FTR, they send out their manager to speak for them. They didn't come at all. Stokely comes with 2 security guys, it looks like. And he had a great response to the crowd giving him the shut the fuck up chant, because the crowd was going, shut the fuck up, shut the fuck up. And he told them, he responded back, he's like, yeah, whatever. Sounds like a Stokely Hathaway family reunion, like whatever. So he just dismissed them like, yeah, I get that all the time. Who gives a fuck? And I thought that was really good. And they actually let him speak after that. So surprisingly, I'm giving Stokely a thumbs up today. Usually never do. I was very critical of him being chosen as FTR's manager, but it's kind of growing on me. Early on, I thought he had no credibility, but he's doing things little by little in these matches. At All In, he helped his boys win, and here he cut a good promo, went out there, talked for his guys, so he's winning me over a little bit. So he tells Edge that Edge's weapon Spike has gotten complaints from the company. I gather that's what he explains, and that somehow, I don't know how, but he has swinged it so that if Edge interferes in any FTR matches, he'll be fired. So I don't know who agreed to that, if that's like a Tony Khan thing. I don't know. They didn't really explain this very well. Edge is like, what the hell? Okay. And Edge points out that, okay, if I can't hit FTR, then I can beat you guys up. So he beats up the security, and then Stokely is left in the ring, dreading it, but he turns around and he takes a spear from Edge. So he takes some damage for FTR today, and Edge is left in the ring to yell into Stokely's ear a la Stone Cold Steve Austin. And that's the segment. So did I like this segment? I think I'll give it a half thumbs up. I think it was pretty long. His promo got a little boring to me. I think he could have been more concise with what he was saying. And then Stokely I kind of liked a little bit, so that part I liked. So that's mostly what I'm giving points for. I'm not giving a lot of points though, because like I said, there was like a hole in the whole idea of why Edge would get fired for attacking FTR. Like, that's kind of weird, but okay. I'll accept it then. Hopefully we'll get more clarification. But for right now, I'm gonna move on. Next, I got a replay. It's Mark Briscoe, his history with Moxley. So he's had a little bit of a beef with him, got choked out once, and he's going to cut a promo. You know, I might play a Mark Briscoe promo today. Why not? I haven't played much of anything from this show. I think this was a bit of a highlight, so why not play some Mark Briscoe?
So it goes like this. It look like a duck, waddle like a duck, quack like a duck. It's a duck. Well, if it walk like a bitch, talk like a bitch, and act like a bitch, it's a bitch. And MJF, like a bitch, ducked and dodged and avoided me that whole casino gauntlet match at All In. There was only two things that I needed to do that night. One was to whoop your ass. And two was to get that victory and earn that title shot. But Max, thanks to what you pulled off, I accomplished neither one. I thought I'd be done with you by now, man. But it's just getting started. So you see, back in January 2023, I made my AEW debut under unfortunate and unusual circumstances. The fortunate thing about it was now the world got to experience the Briscoe brothers, them boys, on a bigger stage than ever before. But y'all have only experienced a portion of them boys. Max, a couple weeks back, you invoked my brother's name. And at All In, when you pulled what you did, man, you invoked my brother's spirit. That's the other side. The chaos, the violence, and the destruction. So some people call it karma. Some people say you reap what you sow. What goes around comes around. Say it however you want to. MJF, I will make you pay for your sins.
All right. Nice promo. I'm gonna give that 2 thumbs up. Excellent stuff. One of the better things that I liked on this show. That was excellent. So yes, we're not done with Mark Briscoe and MJF. Mark Briscoe's got to take care of that. He's disrespected his family too much to just let that go. So I like that a lot. I'm looking forward to that. I think there should be a singles match at some point between Mark Briscoe and MJF. But for right now, we can move on. Let's go to the next match. It's a four-way, a women's four-way for $100,000. Another money match just for cash. Tekla, Queen Aminata, who've been having a feud, Chris Statlander, and Willow. So people with feuds here. Statlander and Willow have had a feud. Aminata and Tekla have had a feud. So Tony Khan with some sick sadisticness in this, throwing some people with personal beef in there for money. But I'm not going to go too deeply into this match. Plus, there weren't that many spots that I thought were amazing. I mean, Tekla was very energetic, and I think she looked really good. I will say that. But there was another spot also where Statlander pulled the ref out of the ring, costing Willow a win, and then they had like a violent fight up the ramp and fought off. So they are out of this match at that point. And then, interestingly, seems like a new alliance has formed here because Sky Blue enters, and she is the distraction for Julia Hart to nail Queen Aminata from behind with the mist and a curb stomp from Tekla, and she wins $100,000. So it seems like this is a new stable consisting of Tekla, Julia Hart, and Sky Blue. So I mean, there was a moment in that All-In gauntlet match where Tekla and Julia Hart both had the same like spider move on the ropes with somebody. So they have similar moveset, I guess. And I think Tekla is definitely the strongest of the three workers. She should be the leader of the group. But yeah, I mean, that's an interesting, nice little group. They all seem like they fit together. Why not? I'll accept this. So for the idea of this new group, I'll say I'll give it a half thumbs up. Not super excited about it, but I think it'll work. Next up, we got Toni Storm. All right, she's in one of the balconies in one of these fancy theaters they got in Chicago. And she's cutting a promo about beating Mercedes. She talks how she has respect for her and also announces that Luther got injured during the match. So I guess that one little spot where he took a knee to the face from Mercedes put him out. But interestingly, here's Athena on the big screen, the winner of the Casino Gauntlet. And there's a nice shot here of how Toni Storm is watching her from the balcony here. Did I save a spot? No. Well, you could see that she's watching the TV while she's on that balcony. And what did Athena say? So Athena, she called Toni a wide-hipped heifer. So she calls her fat. Oh my goodness. How can you say Toni Storm is fat? She claims Toni's demise is here. And Toni Storm responds that she'll bend Athena over a table because she is timeless. Okay, so it didn't really seem like they were both live doing that. Athena must have recorded that because they just let her play her promo out and then that's it. It was over. She didn't respond to anything Toni Storm said. But yeah, that's our next title match for the women's world title, the world title from the women's division. in AEW. She just had a match with Mercedes, a very strong booking. And then here another one, Athena versus Toni Storm, also a very strong booking. Ring of Honor champion versus AEW world champion. That's one of the best they could do. So they're knocking it out. I don't know. Maybe they got an idea that Toni Storm is going to leave soon or go back to WWE, and they want to get all the good matches out of her if they can, because these are matches that I'd be saving. But regardless, okay, for this little segment, I'll throw it a half thumbs up as well. I wasn't too into Toni Storm's promo today. It's getting a little ridiculous how she talks, a little long-winded, but for Athena being there and for the tease of this matchup, I'll say I kind of liked it. You know, before I move on, real quick, I will also add one more thing that I forgot to mention that Athena made note of in her promo, was that she takes credit for putting out Mina Shirakawa, as Mina has been aligned with Toni Storm, and there was an injury during that Casino Gauntlet match, so Mina's out too, which is interesting because she just won the interim Ring of Honor title, so they didn't want to make Red Velvet relinquish that title. They have an interim champion. It's Mina Shirakawa, and now she's hurt too. So now are they going to have an interim champion, or how's that going to work? That'll be interesting. But yeah, we'll talk more about that when we get to our Ring of Honor review a little later on. Next up, we got a backstage segment. This was an interesting, little weird one. It's Nick Wayne. He's given his explanation for why he turned on Christian. Kip Sabian talks first on the left. He said some stuff that I really didn't understand. Something about like they had that planned all along or something. I'm not sure. I couldn't really make it out, but I didn't really want to go back and listen to it too deeply. But they do stand behind their matriarch, Mama Wayne, who also cuts a promo and says these are her kids. Very strange dynamic here. But okay, Nick Wayne, he tells Christian that he decided months ago that he was done, basically, because he became a liability when he wouldn't go along with the plans that they made. Namely, as Edge mentioned earlier, when he cashed in that Casino Gauntlet title shot that he had in Edge's match and blew it. So Christian has decided to cut ties, or Nick Wayne has decided to cut ties with Christian. And that's basically all we get here. A little pre-recorded backstage segment. Very dramatic. I don't know if I liked it, really. I didn't like any of their promos. I didn't think any of them sounded very charismatic or interesting. So I'm not going to give this anything today. I'll wait and see if anything good comes of this, because I'm not sure what could come of it. But okay. Let's move on. Next up, Don Callis is out here with the international and continental titles that Okada unified, and he introduces Okada, the new unified champion. So I'm still curious to see if they're actually going to just keep that as the unified title, or maybe they'll split it up again. I kind of have a feeling, since the belts are still around, maybe they'll split it up at some point. Maybe at the time of the Continental Classic, they'll take the Continental title and put it up for the tournament, is what I'm guessing, but I'm not sure. Remains to be seen. So this was a match that they didn't even announce who the hell this jobber was. He didn't get any introduction whatsoever. But he pins him, so he wins the match. No points for me here for this squash match. But Okada grabs the mic, calls out Swerve Strickland post-match. Wow, okay. So he's mad at him for, as he says, screwing over the Young Bucks at All In and taking away their EVP status. So he calls them a bitch. He says, "You screwed my friends, bitch." So Swerve has no problem coming out, steps right up to Okada, gets in his face, and he goes, "What are you gonna do about it, bitch?" So Okada just walks off. I don't know, Okada, kind of weird that they have all this backup Don Callis family. I guess they could have jumped him, but nope, he just walks off. So for that afterbirth, since nothing happened, I'll give it only a half thumbs up. I thought it was funny that they both called each other bitches, but there was no violence. So that's that. Maybe that's something that's coming up, though. Okada and Swerve. He could use that Don Callis family stable, maybe, to make this a little more fair. And maybe that'll be a good unification title match. So I guess that's what's coming up, it seems. But all right. Next up, it's the main event, 6-man. Here's the Death Riders coming from the back. So, all right, here's the part where I have to talk about this match. They talk about how Samoa Joe got put out injured and how the Ops want revenge for this against the Death Riders. Here comes their opponents, the Death Riders' opponents, Mark Briscoe, Hobbs, and the champion, Hangman Page. So let me just discuss the booking of this match. How they threw Jon Moxley, who just lost this world title, into a main event multi-man tag match. Essentially out of the blue. Like, you know, that's a big deal that he lost that match. I kind of feel like they could have made it more of a big deal, like, you know, he didn't want to come back, or give him a few weeks off, you know, let him go away, or at least let him cut a promo talking about how he's like desperate to win it back, or he can't live without it. No promo, no nothing, just comes out for a tag team match. So I don't really like this booking, this putting stars into multi-man tag team match. Sometimes it makes sense when there's a feud that makes sense, but for today, having Moxley and Hangman go head to head again just after they did it at All In, it's too soon. So I really don't like this. I really didn't like the idea for this main event match, just for the booking. Regardless, I'll give the match a chance. Let's review the match. Let's see some spots. I think we got some interference spots. Here's Marina Shafir stepping in to defend Wheeler Yuta from Powerhouse Hobbs. So she's still loyal to the Death Riders, and this leads to a chop block from Claudio from behind. So Marina Shafir, still a Death Riders weapon here. More Marina interference as Mark Briscoe goes to the top rope, and Marina just pulls him off, chokes him, gouges the eyes. Marina just being violent Marina, being violent with men. Here's a through the middle rope dive that I thought was pretty impressive looking. Mark Briscoe, sometimes these don't look good, but this one, I think, earns him a half a point today on the Malapert Smart rating system, because that one was smooth. Moving on, Hangman Page with the Orihara moonsault off the top rope. Always a spectacle seeing that. I'll give that a half a point. I've seen it many, many times, so I don't know if he should be using it here on a Dynamite, but still, okay. Hangman Page looking for the kill when Moxley enters from the right. So here's their first interaction since their world title match, and the finish, it's Hangman Page with a jackknife pin on Claudio, and he gets the win for the baby faces here today. 6-man tag match. So again, yes, I didn't really feel much from it. I know Moxley and Page got into it a little bit. Marina Shafir was involved. That was kind of amusing, but still, I think I just didn't like the idea for this match. I don't know where they're going with it. Does Moxley want a rematch? He hasn't said anything. I don't know. So there's an afterbirth. After the match, right after the match, obviously the Death Riders jump the baby faces. Moxley is hurt, so he's selling that he's like pretty old, and I guess he had that really vicious match just a few days ago. So then what happens is there's a skybox that's lighted up. The camera pans into it, pans over to who's in that skybox, and it's Darby Allin. So Darby Allin, who returned at All In to help Moxley win, shocked Moxley. And again, he has that same look on his face. I don't know why he's so shocked to see Darby Allin. I guess because he never thought he would climb Mount Everest, I guess. He thought he would die up there or something. So Mox is stunned, and he gets nailed by a buckshot lariat off the distraction. So that's how the show ends. And Moxley he looks done. Like, he looks, I guess if there's any storyline from this, he just looks really weak and hurt. Like, he should just go away and take a break. I don't know why he has to force himself to, you know, be in this silly tag match that doesn't really mean anything in this match. He could have called out sick today, but okay. I guess for that little storyline of Moxley, you know, selling this injury, maybe this is going to lead to the angle of him finally going away. But I think it should have happened already. But I'll still give a half point for Moxley selling his oldness. And Tony Schiavone calls Darby Allin invincible. after climbing Mount Everest. So Darby Allin has this aura about him now. Really interesting that that's how they used him. But okay, so my AEW Dynamite review gets 13 points. I liked a few things here and there that I thought were entertaining. Overall, there's some things that I had a problem with. Definitely the booking at the top of the card. But okay, I think we're still headed in a decent direction. I think there's certain things like the Young Bucks being regular wrestlers. I can roll with that. Swerve versus Okada. I can roll with that. Christian and Edge. I'm slightly interested to see where that goes, I guess, because I'm a big Christian fan and I've known them since they were Edge and Christian in WWE. It's kind of predictable how this is going to go. They're probably going to reunite and have some tag team matches in this company, but I'm still here for that too. And then I think the only thing that's really something that's looking forward to is MJF. Something that we really have to look forward to, I'm trying to say, is MJF and his pursuit of the title and also his feud with Mark Briscoe. So those are two things that are really positive and they're going to keep me watching this show. But okay, that's it for my review of Dynamite. If that's all you care about, you can leave the live stream. But for completeness sake, I'm going to check out if anything happened on Ring of Honor and Collision coming up. So let's do that right now. Alright, we're here at Ring of Honor from last Thursday. This airs on Honor Club, the website, I guess, subscription service. So let's run through this real quick. Usually there isn't much substantial on these shows, but I still want to keep track of what's going on, who are the champions. There are sometimes some surprises, sometimes some good stuff happens during the matches. But alright, let's take a look. So here's Ian Riccaboni and Caprice Coleman looking very excited to be there. Thankfully someone is. But yeah, this is the first match of the night. It's Big Shotty Lee Johnson with his friend Blake Christian, and he's facing Atlantis Jr. So I'm going to skip forward into the match to the first interference spot, the first significant spot, I think, in the match. Here's Blake Christian trying to get involved as Atlantis Jr. is trying to go off the ropes and hit a move, but Blake Christian butts his nose in there. Lee Johnson tries to take advantage from behind. Atlantis Jr. ducks out of the way and then kicks Blake Christian off the apron. So this was a very weak interference spot, I thought, because Blake Christian didn't do anything, just got kicked off the apron. It was inconsequential. The fight carried on for a little while until Atlantis Jr. hits his frog splash finisher after a Mexican destroyer combination. And there you go, Atlantis Jr. is the victor, and Blake Christian just fucked that up. I don't know. He doesn't seem like he minds too much or that he's too pissed at himself. Some good friend. I don't know. This match, though, I'm not giving any points to this one. Nothing. Indifferent. I'm moving on to the next segment. Next, we got a backstage promo from Lee Moriarty, who had just defeated Blue Panther at the Ring of Honor Supercard of Honor. So this was recorded the previous Friday. At that event, he announces that he is now the longest reigning Ring of Honor Pure Champion, and that he's not satisfied. He wants to be at the top of this brand. So I guess he wants to go for the world title, I think that means. And he tells everyone to watch your step and protect your neck. So that's his catchphrase. But regardless, I didn't really find this promo too interesting either. I don't know if I'm too excited for Lee Moriarty to be the face of Ring of Honor. I think he puts on decent matches. Promo is good. He memorized his lines. He nailed them. Nothing too charismatic and interesting to me, though. Nothing I would call home about. Nothing I would write home about, as they say. But okay, let's move on to the next segment. Next, we got a replay of Mina Shirakawa winning the interim TV title at the Supercard of Honor. So, yes, she was supposed to hold that title while Red Velvet is out injured. But then Caprice Coleman made an announcement about her getting injured as well. So Mina is out too now. This happened at All In that Casino Gauntlet match at the hands of Athena. So as we talked about earlier in our Dynamite review, Athena bragged about that to Tony Storm, who is Mina's friend. But yeah, so Mina's out too. This brings about an interesting circumstance with the interim champion being out too. Are they going to have another interim champion? So is there going to be like a second interim champion? I don't know. This could get complicated. Or they could just freaking crown a new champion for bejesus sake. I don't know. I think when this thing happens, when people are injured and they're champions, you need to give them a time limit. If they can't make it back within like a month, then you got to take the title from them and they can get the first shot when they come back, I think is how it should go. But okay, moving on. Still no points on my Ring of Honor review yet. I'm looking for something to give anything to. I'm trying here. Next we got a match. It's a singles match. It's Diamante who fought on the Ring of Honor Supercard of Honor. We talked about how she isn't aligned with Athena anymore. They had made her like a minion for a few weeks and then they just kind of cut that off and forgot about it. I guess she wasn't happy with that storyline, so no explanation. We're just off to Diamante being a single and she's facing Maya World today. Okay, interesting. During the Code of Honor handshake at the beginning, seemed like everything was going normally, a regular handshake, but then Diamante wouldn't let the handshake go, so that was pretty disrespectful to the youngster. And then as the match finished, wasn't a long match, but here's a Code Red finisher from Diamante. Nice, nice. That was the finish of the match. And Diamante picks up the win for herself. I don't know where this leads to. Maybe Diamante for TV champion. How about that? I don't know. She was involved with Red Velvet. I think she could easily slide in right there, I guess. But also for this match, for this, you know, squash match with local talent, I'm not giving any points either. Still no points. Next up, we got MXM TV Collection promoting their new fragrance brand. So they make like a provocative video for their new fragrance seed. Let it grow inside of you. I guess this is meant to make people feel uncomfortable, right? And that gives them heat in a way. So I don't know. I don't think it's good heat. I don't really very much like this group, but I'm moving on to the next segment. Still no points from me here. Sorry. Let me put the graphic up for Seed. Nothing. I'm not giving a thumbs down because they worked hard on that video package, but regardless, I'm moving on to the next thing, which is an Athena promo in the stairwell after All In. So I'm guessing this is after she won that Casino Gauntlet match and now has earned an AEW title shot in addition to her Ring of Honor championship. So let's play an Athena promo. She's the champion. She's the face of Ring of Honor. So why not listen in to a little Athena? Let's see what she has to say.
I don't care who it is. I don't care when it's time. The forever ROH champion, the hometown hero, the fallen goddess, the minion overlord, is going to be the AEW Women's World Champion. Ah!
Congratulations to Athena.
All right. You know what? I'll finally give that a half a point today. I gotta give this show something for Athena's little promo. She's very excited about challenging for that AEW World Championship. The prospect of her becoming a dual champion is good for Ring of Honor, I would say. If the Ring of Honor champion is also the AEW World Champion, that gives them some credibility, but I don't see her winning that, really. But it'll still be a good match with Tony Storm, so let's move on. Alright, next up, we got a pretty in-depth video package that covers Dustin Rhodes' history attempting to win that TNT title and then finally doing it as a substitute at All In. Surprising booking there. But yeah, we're going to get a promo from him as well, as he is the Ring of Honor World Tag Team Champion and World Six-Man Tag Team Champion. So he's very involved in Ring of Honor, although this is an AEW angle, really. So we're still going to get to hear what he said after the victory at All In. So here's a promo from the previous Saturday that they're playing here on Ring of Honor television. Let's listen into Dustin Rhodes.
Tony asked me to step up, I did. I have chased this thing and come short, like I said, many times. And I'm still in shock. I'm still in shock a little bit that I actually pulled this off, and I'm just super proud that I could do it in my home state of Texas. I love the fans. They treat me so good, even 37 years later. It's amazing. I think there's so much passion in me and our family that we go to work and we have a work ethic, and we do what needs to be done, and we step up when we can. My dad taught me many, many lessons, and that was the one, to keep stepping and to keep going and to keep thriving and to keep reinventing yourself. And it's such a pretty belt, man, and I'm just like, I stared at it it felt like 10 minutes. I didn't want to take it out of Aubrey's hand because it was just, my God. And you know, I'm just in shock a little bit. I pulled it out, I guess, you know. I wasn't on the receiving end of this time. Super proud of myself. I want to carry this title and do the very best that I can for as long as I can. And thank you.
All right. So there you go, Dustin Rhodes. Very normal promo. I'll still give it a half point since he brought up Dusty. You know, it's always nice to hear someone talk about Dusty Rhodes, but not too exciting, not too fired up. He was tired probably. He just did 2 matches. Good for him. I'm actually proud of him too. At that age, to be going at that level, that's really cool. I hope at that age I'm still athletic enough to do anything close to what he's doing. So I am impressed with him, I gotta say. All right, next up we got Michael Oku with Amira, his girlfriend. Okay, he's the Rev Pro men's champion. Mercedes Moné is the female champion. So this will be an interesting matchup with Jay Lethal. All right, I think we might get some points on the board here finally for this episode of Ring of Honor. I have some spots picked out that I found interesting from this match. Here's the first time I've ever seen this. It's a figure 4 leg lock, and the way Michael Oku gets out of it by rolling literally all the way out of the ring. I don't know. I'm sure that's happened before, but I've never seen that. So I'll give it a half a point just for the first time I've seen it. I think that's a unique idea, but regardless, Amira, here's Michael Oku's girlfriend, being super supportive. I mean, she's just really trying to inspire him. I like how she gets into these matches, and she seems to be a good girlfriend. But okay, here's a move from Killer Oku. That's an excellent move. That one will get a whole point from me on today's review. I'll give it a thumbs up for that one. That was really nice. Here's an elbow drop from Jay Lethal, which interestingly gets reversed into a pinfall by Michael Oku. I've never seen that either. That was really smooth how they did that, you know? I'm going to give that a whole point as well. And then the ending here, surprise booking to me. After 2 cutters, Jay Lethal hits a 3rd one off the rope, and Michael Oku with incredible selling here. You know what? I'm going to give him 2 points just for that sell. Just for the sell. I'm still going to review the match also, but Jesus, this is good wrestling. It took that incredibly well. Incredibly well. But Jay Lethal is the winner. I do kind of question why Jay Lethal wins this, I guess. It seems like Michael Oku would be the more bigger prospect. Jay Lethal looking older. He is looking older too. I don't see him being at the top of the card ever again. But you know what? For this match, I'll still say I kind of liked it. I'll give it a half a point. I gave a bunch of points for a bunch of spots, but for Jay Lethal winning, I'll give it a half a point. But it was a good match. And then afterwards, Jay Lethal with the handshake and showing respect. But okay, let's move along. Next, we got a backstage promo recorded after Supercard of Honor with the Frat House. They had just lost to the Dark Order on the pre-show. So I'm going to play some of this just to hear the Frat House. Why not? Let's see what they have to say today.
Hey, go get the bags, get the car. You guys messed up big time.
Can't handle Dark Order. 5-on-3, you idiots. I'm pissed. That referee cheated. He grabbed Griff's foot while Uno gave him a neck breaker. That's bull. I want a new ref. We should have won that match. We should have won. Dark Order, I thought I was done with you. I definitely thought I was done with little Brody. So if you ever want more, we're ready. And leave that little punk brat kid at home. Boys, I need to get drunk right now. Hey, there is a bar close by. You're right. Okay. I like where his head's at. All right, yeah. Get in the car. The one thing about us is, win or lose, we boo!
Oh my god, that was nice. I like that promo. That was from the beginning with Jack Jameson calling out the refs for cheating. That was a smooth promo for their gimmick. And Cole Carter at the end, man, I gotta get drunk right now, man. And then this leads directly into a video package of them actually getting drunk afterwards over the weekend. Here's some images of the frat house at the bar after their loss, trying to cheer themselves up. And yes, they did have a grand old time, it seems. And Preston Vance made an incredible beer pong shot and was like so freaking stoked. So there you go. That's what happened with the frat house. The frat house actually, they made me laugh today. I was surprised that the frat house actually earned some points on my review today. I'm not usually into them, but you know, they are growing on me as well. So they want a rematch against Dark Order, and they say leave -1 at home. Brody Lee's kid came out and caused a distraction. So that was that. All right, moving on to the next segment. All right, we're here at the main event. We got a replay first. They're going to show how Bandito rolled up Takeshita to retain the world title at the Ring of Honor Supercard of Honor pay-per-view. And then after that, Hechicero from the same stable stepped up to Bandito. So there you go. That's like the next challenger for Bandito, Hechicero, and he's in the main event tonight. He's facing Angelico from the Spanish Announce Project. Serpentico's there to watch his back today as Hechicero has Rocky Romero in his corner, so there might be some cheating going on. No code of honor. Hechicero doesn't want to do it. So, okay, I'm going to skip into the match. Let's see a couple of interference spots. Here's Rocky Romero getting a shot in with the ref's back turned. Serpentico's like watching him. Hey, like, don't do that, man. But he didn't hit him or anything. So, more interference. Here's Rocky again up on the rope later on in the match, up on the ring apron. This leads to an advantage for Hechicero and then leads to him putting his finisher on Angelico, which was pretty impressive looking. This one spins him around and then drops him on his knee back first. That looked very smooth how they did that. So I'm going to give that a half a point for that finishing move. I think that was very interesting. I don't know if I've ever seen him do that move, but I like how that looks. So Hechicero's the winner. Get some momentum here. For the match itself, I'm not giving any points. But there is an afterbirth. So afterwards, the Don Callis family guys put a beat down on the Spanish Announce Project and enter Hologram to make the save. So Hologram runs in, top rope, Hurricane Rana onto Hechicero, which looked pretty smooth, and he cleans house basically. And that's how the show ends as they send Rocky Romero and Hechicero running. Interesting that it was Hologram to make the save and not Bandito. But okay, yeah, I think it would have made more sense if it was Bandito, considering Hechicero stepped up to him and that he's going to have a feud with him. But okay, it's Hologram. It could still lead somewhere. I'm not going to give that afterbirth any points, though. Just a senseless attack and then a save from Hologram, but okay. I've come to the conclusion of my Ring of Honor review today for July 17th, 2025. I'm at 7.5 points. Not bad. At least it got some points. Started off really slow. And for a minute, I thought this could be like one of them shows that go into the negative, but that's happened before for me. But no, I like this. So I like certain things. The Jay Lethal, Michael Oku match, the Frat House promo, I thought were two things that I can distinctly remember that I enjoyed watching. But all right, that's all for this review of Ring of Honor. Let's do Saturday's Collision, and then we can get out of here. All right, let's run through Collision. Let's finish this live stream off strong, and we'll be all set for Dynamite tonight. All right, so this is Saturday, July 19th. Here is the opening of the show. They showed a replay of Dustin Rhodes winning the TNT title at All In. So the first segment is an in-ring promo by Dustin Rhodes. So he gets time to talk in the ring on this 2-hour collision today. I personally think these collisions could stand to be 1 hour, maybe. It's a little much for the secondary storylines, but that's neither here nor there. So Dustin Rhodes, okay, so he's talking about how he persevered through all the times he failed to win that title, and that he wants to be a fighting champion, and he sends a message to his mom and dad up in the heavens saying that he kept on stepping for them, that's the Texas motto. To whatever happens, you just keep on stepping, right? Anyways, out come Don Callis and Kyle Fletcher. So Fletcher is pissed off that Dustin just kind of waltzed in there, as he says, weaseled his way into that match and stole it. And he still says that that title belongs to him. So Dustin responds. He says that Fletcher's making excuses. He had to do 3 matches in 2 days and he still pulled it off, which is true. Good point, which pisses off Fletcher. Don Callis, he grabs the mic. He takes his stab at talking to Dustin. He's like, let me handle this. And not surprisingly, but it seemed like it didn't really fit here, but he offered Dustin Rhodes a spot in the Don Callis family. Everyone was like, he was even like, what? So he tells Dustin, look, you're better than being a third wheel in the dysfunctional Rhodes family. And that pissed off Dustin, who grabs him and strangles him, and that leads to a fight. So Fletcher gets in there and tries to knock off Dustin, but he gets flung out of the ring himself, and that's how the segment ends, as Don Callis holds Fletcher back and wants him to fight another day, retreat and regroup. So there was the opening segment. All right, I gotta give this a rating somewhere between indifferent and I kind of liked it. I think I'm gonna go with indifferent. Didn't really feel much from this scene. I thought it was a little much time for the TNT champion to get to talk on television, not the world champion. So, yeah, Don Callis, offering him a spot in the Don Callis family. That's getting to be a bit of a running gag, I guess. He offers it to everybody, and most people don't want to. I think I would rate this segment because of Don Callis that I don't really care about it. I think he gets a lot of heat in the AEW community and the wrestling community, and it's not really because of the things he says, in my opinion. I think it's more because his acting is kind of phony. It's more like go away heat. Like he doesn't sound like a person who's actually talking, I think. That's the problem with Don Callis. So he's a very primary part of this show. He's in a lot of big angles, a lot of mid-card angles, and I don't really care for it. So here I am reviewing this first segment of Collision, and no points on the board for me. So I'm going to move on with the show. No thumbs down, though. I will say before I move on to the next segment that I am interested to see how they can rehabilitate Kyle Fletcher after his loss at the All In pay-per-view, and maybe he has a chance to be something. I mean, honestly, he's got the best look out of anyone in that stable. He could be on his own doing good stuff, but we'll see if it leads anywhere for Kyle Fletcher. All right, next up, we got a backstage segment. It's the conglomeration. We see Mark Briscoe and Willow, and Ishii is with them. He's just standing there. But he doesn't really talk. But this has to do with 2 storylines. So first of all, Willow cuts a promo on Statlander. They had an incident at the match on Wednesday at the Dynamite show where Statlander cost Willow the match. And it was for money. It was like a $100,000 cash match, and they fought off, and they're still involved with each other. Even though Willow doesn't want to have anything to do with her, Statlander tried to be her friend again, and it didn't happen, but they still bump into each other every now and then, and it's always emotional based on the history. But yeah, so it seems like, again, that's going to head somewhere. And also Mark Briscoe, he cut a promo on MJF. So MJF, that's not over. He was talking up Willow while she was talking too. So they really acted like a staple here for once. But for this, I'll give it a half a point. I think I liked how they did this little segment. So at least for Mark Briscoe and Willow, I'll give it some points today. Let's move along. Next up, we got a match. It's Ricochet. He's facing AR Fox. They show a replay of his henchman, the Gates of Agony, beating up AR Fox, a few weeks ago. Here's AR Fox. So this is going to be a spot fest, it seems, with these two high flyers. But here's the Gates of Agony coming out during the match. They're going to back up Ricochet, and they are giving him mean looks as they, enter the ringside area. So they're trying to be very intimidating to him. And here's a distraction spot. So as Ricochet distracts the ref, Toa Leona attacks AR Fox. That did not lead to the finish, though. There's more fighting. Here's an over-the-top rope dive from AR Fox. Gotta give a half point for them over-the-top rope dives. Why not? Here is AR Fox again. It's AR Fox headed to the top rope for, again, another high-impact move, and we see this time it's Bishop Khan on the other side, interfering in a roundabout way. This leads to the finish as AR Fox misses a 450 splash, and Ricochet with the finisher to put him away. So Ricochet wins the match, and there is an afterbirth. So the afterbirth is they're gonna throw AR Fox out of the ring. That's a bit of an afterbirth, not really much. They just kind of insulted him, flung him out of the ring, and raised AR Fox's hand. So okay, I'm gonna rate the match. The match I won't give any points to. I don't know, for a Ricochet AR Fox match, I kind of expected more. I thought this would be like a high flying marathon. So I'm not gonna give any points to this Ricochet AR Fox match for the little afterbirth and them flinging him out of the ring and disrespecting him. Nothing really for me either. I don't know if that means AR Fox is gonna try to get back at them at some point, or if they'll continue having matches, but yeah, that's about it. So it's a win for Ricochet. His stable is looking solid at this point. It's benefiting him. So we'll see if that carries on. Gates of Agony will have a match later on. So we'll see if they can improve on their night, already having a win under their belts. But I'm moving on. Okay, I got to get to the next segment on this show. We got a replay from All In. They show Moxley tapping out, getting strangled by Hangman Page, losing his title. And then they also show the follow-up of him getting beaten up again on Dynamite by the new champion. So that leads us directly to the next segment. So Colt Cabana, for some reason, Hangman Page's friend, is doing commentary today. So they brought him at the announce booth. He was a big deal for a while when CM Punk was in the company, and CM Punk never liked Colt Cabana, so people thought CM Punk used his power or his stroke to get Colt Cabana kicked out of the show, when he wasn't really ever on the show that much to begin with. And that was something that Hangman Page held against CM Punk, blindsided him with that unprepared promo that he talked about that, and yeah, so that was a black stain on AEW. The people say AEW lost CM Punk in part because of Colt Cabana. But anyways, here he is, good friends with Hangman Page, so that's why the Death Riders come out and they're going to strangle him. You see Marina show up behind him, grab a chain, choke him out, and they're just going to kind of fuck him up really badly, as you will see here. Split him open, stomp him out, choke his ass out, and then also do the same thing Hangman did to Moxley and hang him. So good selling from Colt Cabana. I don't know, very rare segment from him, but I think he did really good here. So this is interesting. Okay, I guess the Death Riders storyline is continuing. People thought, okay, Hangman's gonna win, Death Riders should be done. I don't know how I feel about the Death Riders just carrying on, like just continuing this shit, but this segment in particular, I liked it a lot. I think Colt Cabana sold it as well as you could, and it was surprising, came out of nowhere, so I'll give something a 2 thumbs up on this show. Why not? Let's see where that leads. I'm sure Hangman Page will be pissed at them and try to get back at them this Wednesday. But let's move on for now. Next up, we got Chris Statlander. Okay, so she's backstage getting interviewed by Lexi Nair, who was talking about her recent dry spell, and asks her also about her still seemingly being obsessed with Willow. But she says no, that she's just hitting Willow back. You know, that they are used to be friends, but they bump into each other basically, and she claims that Willow hit her first and they just had to fight because they're just in a fight. So she didn't see it that way, or at least she didn't say she saw it that way. But okay, then funny thing, the Death Riders walk through the segment in front of the camera. I thought it was funny that they kind of just didn't give a fuck after they just strangled Colt Cabana. There they are, walking through. I'll give it a half point for Death Riders here. Still, not bad for them just not giving a fuck that there's an interview going on. So Wheeler Yuta shows up behind Moxley, and he tells Statlander, hey, tough week, but champions always bounce back like they do, huh? Just like the Death Riders did, bouncing back, beating the shit out of Colt Cabana, right? So Marina ends up yanking Wheeler away because she don't want him talking to Statlander. But yeah, Statlander's like, yes, she's ready to bounce back. That's what she said. That's the last thing she said as this segment ended. So I'll throw this segment a little thumbs up. I'll throw it a point for the Death Riders and Statlander still flirting. Maybe it's a possibility. I guess I thought if it could have happened, it could have happened before All In, but I guess since they're carrying on with this Death Riders angle, why not throw them in? Throw Chris Statlander in. Maybe it'll make them a stronger stable. But yeah, it still seems to be that it's not over. So for everyone who thought that this stable was over, it doesn't look like it's over yet, unless there's going to be some type of final battle that's really going to put Moxley in the fucking hospital or something. But okay, let's move along. Next up, it's a match. We got Megan Bayne, no Penelope with her today. She's by herself, and she's against Ty Mello, no Anna Jay. So, okay. I'll call this a back and forth matchup. Both of them got some offense in, but I'm skipping to the finish. It's a running Liger bomb by Megan Bayne for the 3 count. Okay, so she gets the win. Let's move along. Well, I'm not going to give that match any points either. I didn't really find it that exciting, just a win for Megan Bayne. Next up, we got Scorpio Sky and his new stable. I guess they're called the Sky Flight Team, managed by Daniels. And they say they're looking for a challenge. So Daniels and Scorpio Sky, who used to be SCU, and Scorpio Sky's got that SCU shirt on to remind everyone of SC fucking U. Where's Kazarian? He's in TNA. But yeah, they got Top Flight in their stable. So they want challengers, and enter, for some reason, Don Callis, again, who shakes Scorpio Sky's hand, and Scorpio Sky is very cordial with him. He's like, yeah, the pleasure's all mine. Everyone else is like, what the fuck? Look at Layla Gray over here, Daniels. Daniels steps in. He's like, he knows what's going on. He's going to try to ask Scorpio Sky to join his stable. And Daniels is like, no, he doesn't need extra representation, but if they want a challenge, they got it. So Don Callis says he understands and walks away. So it looks like Daniels is the leader here. He says they're ready to take on all comers. Interesting segment. I don't know. Again, Don Callis kind of ruins it for me. I can't say I'm interested in anything he does. Really? Look, like, I don't know. It seemed like Scorpio Sky maybe was thinking about it. I wouldn't want him to do that. Really? I'd rather they just stick with this, whatever this is. But I could see that happening based on the tease that they showed in this angle. Next up, we got MXM Collection. They're carrying Taya Valkyrie to the ring. So Taya is getting carried today like a queen by her boyfriend, or I guess they're her husband. I think Johnny TV is married to her, and Mason Madden is there. No Mansois. But there's a pre-taped little promo from the newcomer Alex Windsor, who is making her Collision debut. Talks about being all elite, getting hired on by Tony Khan. She looked good in that Casino Gauntlet match, from what I remember. Nice spots, and here she is today. So it's her first match. She's facing Taya Valkyrie. Taya Valkyrie, I would say, got some offense in, but this was obvious from the start. It's a newcomer. They got to make her look good. She taps out to the sharpshooter, and Alex Windsor is the winner. I will give that match no ratings, no points. But there was a bit of an afterbirth or a post-match. We got Athena up on the balcony to cut a promo while Alex Windsor's in the ring. She responds to Alex Windsor saying that she pushed everyone to their limit in that Casino Gauntlet. Athena's like, nah, you just got beat, and tells her to get the hell out of her ring. So Alex Windsor just walks out. So she kind of got punked out there. I don't know. I don't know if I liked how they did that for a new person, unless they're going to have a feud or something. Maybe they could have waited till Alex Windsor left so she could start her promo on Toni Storm, but okay. If there's no receipt coming, this was just Athena getting over on this one. So she disrespected her and then started talking about Toni Storm. So she, talks about how Toni Storm is liked for all these stupid reasons, for being on the balcony, for talking in British accent. And she says that, yeah, she can do the same thing. She's on the balcony. She does her little British voice, and then enter Toni Storm. So Toni Storm is pissed. She's like, no, get down from there. That she's the only balcony bitch in this business. So she challenges Athena to cash in that contract right now and come down to the ring and have a fight with her. So here's Toni Storm's response.
Flail, wail, throw out a sexual innuendo.
All right, that was the wrong clip. Sorry about that. Here it is. Here's Athena responding to Toni Storm's challenge.
You would like that, huh? These people would love for me to sign this contract right now, huh? No. You know what? Hey. Maybe if Toni Storm gets down on her knees and begs me like the dirty, disease-ridden whore she is, maybe, just maybe.
Oh, then she does it. She does get on her knees.
Fine. Don't sign the bloody contract. But why don't you still come down here so I can shine my shoe on your sphincter? How about that?
You know what? Hold on, hussy. No. We're not.
All right. That's the only little clip I'm going to play. But Athena mentions that she'll be ready to cash in her contract this Wednesday, though, as Toni Storm will take on Billy Starks, her protege, and Toni Storm, what happens from there? Oh, I'm sorry. She actually offers to give Billy Starks a title shot. So Athena doesn't want that. She doesn't want her minion becoming champion before she does. And then Toni Storm gets frustrated and she just starts running towards Athena in the balcony. So Athena runs away, and Toni Storm takes her spot on the balcony, and that's how the segment ended. All right, sorry, I was a little disjointed explaining what happened there, but I like this segment. I'm going to say it was a surprise to me that it happened on this show. The world title feud on Collision for the women. They have done a lot of Toni Storm segments on Collision. She almost carries this show. So I will say I'll give that segment a point overall just for the segment. I'll also give an extra bonus point for the disease-ridden whore line, which got a pop from the crowd. But okay. Next up, we're backstage. It's Lexi Nair. She's interviewing Anthony Bowens. So Anthony Bowens and Billy Gunn have not been on the same page. Here comes Billy Gunn into the scene. And Billy says that Bowens is obsessed with Max. So this was a surprise to me. Obsessed with his old tag team partner, Max Caster. He's watching him on his iPad. But Bowen says no, that's not what he was looking at. He was looking at how Billy Gunn wasn't even there for his match, and then they get into an argument. Billy's like, I didn't even know if you wanted me there or not. You're just flipping back and forth. So Billy says, you know what? I have a match for you. It'll break you out of your slump coming up. So are you in? So Bowens is like, yes, I'm in. So then they scissor, and that's that. So do I think anything of this segment? No, nothing. I don't care about the 5-tool player. I don't know what's going on with that. I've mentioned that I think it's okay for Bowens to be a struggling mid-card wrestler. I think that's a decent storyline for him. I think he can fit into the show in some way that way, but as for this segment itself, I don't know. I didn't feel anything. It wasn't that charismatic or interesting. It just says that for now they're going to stick together and still try to be a team. So that's that. Next up, we got another match for cash. Oh my god, I'm so over these. This one is $200,000, so $100,000 for each guy, I guess, in the teams, and it's a four-way, so four-way tag match. Here are the participants. It's the Learning Tree, Big Bill and Brian Keith, Crew, Leo Rush and Action Andretti, Gates of Agony, who had a thing with the Guns at All In. They show a replay of that, actually, of the Guns attacking the Gates of Agony, and Ricochet, and they're facing, coincidentally, the Guns. So the Guns are back. The Bang Bang Gang is back. Juice Robinson is back with no beard. There he is. So I've noticed that he's struggling to have the same charisma that he did when he was hiding behind that beard. So it'll be interesting if he could get it back. I think it would be a good exercise for him to not rely on hiding behind the beard and still have the same attitude if he could pull it off. But we're going to see a Juice Robinson promo a little later on, and we can talk about that when we get there. And that's what I'm going to preview right now, is Big Bill walks by Juice Robinson here. For some reason, Bill is really mad at Juice after the match and attacks him, but I didn't really see anything happen between them. All I saw was that he just walked by him. He really should be more mad at the Gates of Agony, because Toa Leona just fucked his ass up here with a pounce and pushed him over the announce table. To do that to Big Bill was a pretty good spot for Toa Leona. So anyways, Ricochet, here's some interference. He also comes in. He helps the Gates of Agony. He gets rid of the Guns. And here's the finish, the Gates of Agony on Action Andretti, and they win the money. So I didn't want to go into too much detail on that match. All the teams tried hard. I would say they all worked hard. But Gates of Agony win the $200K. It was a money match, so I don't really want to go into the detail about the story of the match. But I did mention the thing with Big Bill and Juice Robinson, as we'll see a little later on. I was a little concerned about also why when Ricochet came in, where the hell Juice Robinson went to help. He just kind of disappeared. He didn't get attacked or beaten or anything, and then they didn't film him after the match. So that I thought was a little strange. I almost want to give a thumbs down for the match for that, to be honest, but instead I'll give it an indifferent. I'll be nice and I'll say I won't take off points there. Let's move along. Next, we got Max Caster, Open Challenge Series. So he's the best wrestler alive. He gets the crowd to chant it again. You know, this is his thing. And the challenger today is Kyle O'Reilly, who comes out with Roderick Strong. Caster in the beginning tries to run away, try to last the 5 minutes, although they're supposed to be the ones lasting the 5 minutes, and then he gets tripped by Roderick Strong there, which was a funny little spot, and then a submission, and it's over. So Kyle O'Reilly with the win, and his conglomeration teammates, stablemates, Hologram, and Ishii watch supportively from the back. So my rating on this match is nothing. Sorry, 0 points for me for the Max Caster Open Challenge Series. Next, we got Juice Robinson. All right, so this is where I finally saw him start to show some charisma, which I'm glad. You know, I thought maybe without the beard, he just wouldn't feel like the same guy. But here he is talking shit to the Gates of Agony, saying that they cost them their boys money and that he has a beef with them. And then out comes Big Bill, who is pissed at him, saying, oh, you want to have a beef with somebody? You know, he tells Juice here that Juice stuck his nose in his business. So he's like, you're a hypocrite. You're complaining about the Gates of Agony sticking their nose in your business when you do the same thing. And this turns into a fight and a pull apart. So like I said, I went back in the match, in the 4-way tag match, and looked for them having something. And I don't know, maybe they missed a spot or something and they just had this segment pre-recorded and they just went through with it anyways. But I don't know, I might have missed something. I watched the match pretty closely. I didn't see anything happen with Big Bill and Juice, but there you go. Looks like they're gonna start something here. Juice Robinson finally showing some fire here with the new look. He looks a little like Jack Perry to me. But just for Juice being more Juice, being more himself, I'll give it a half thumbs up. But for the segment itself and how it didn't make any sense to me, I'm taking off a point here on my Collision review. I'm sorry, they could have set that one up a little better. It came out of nowhere, and I'm looking very closely here and studiously, and I still didn't see what they were going for. So I'm going to move on to the next thing we got. It's an interesting singles match. It's Rouge. He's here with La Facción Ingobernables, his boys Beast Mortos and Dralistico, and he's facing 1/3 of the Trios champions, Katsuyori Shibata from the Ops. So this was a no-sellathon from two workers whose egos are so huge that they literally just won't register each other's thoughts, each other's punches or strikes or anything. So whatever, I don't know. It's a bit of a sellout to the business, some would say. Here's some interference. Dralistico comes in, distracts Shibata, also Beast Mortos on the apron. Didn't lead to the finisher, but in a roundabout way, maybe that weakened him or distracted him, I would say. And here's the finisher from Rouge. It's the horns. You mess with the bull and you get the horns. And that's just a win for Rouge. Interesting. Okay. I really didn't know who would go over there, but it looks like they're setting up some kind of trios feud between La Facción and Ingobernables and the Ops, because there's an afterbirth here where as LFI beat down Shibata, they take the trios title that Shibata has. They're going to whip him with it when out comes Powerhouse Hobbs to make the save for his stablemate. There you go. No Samoa Joe, no Hook. The Ops is just Hobbs and Shibata right now. Okay. But yeah, so they let it be known that they want those trios titles. Makes sense. LFI versus Ops seems like a fine enough matchup. I don't know who's going to take Samoa Joe's spot. Maybe Hook can come back and be a substitute or something. All right, but I got to give ratings. I'm giving no points to the match. The match was ridiculous. And for the afterbirth, I'll give a little half point for the idea of the trios match that I think is a decent one. Next, we got the Don Callis family coming out with Hechicero, and they come out to Hechicero's theme, who has the most badass theme, really. Makes them look cooler than they are, to be honest. I think they should adopt Hechicero's theme, or if they have to play someone's theme, they should always play his, because it's the coolest theme song in wrestling. Go YouTube that if you don't know what it is. Alright, so the Don Callis family, they're facing Jet Speed, Kevin Knight, and Mike Bailey, Mascara Dorada, and Bandido. So we get more ROH World Title preview as Hechicero and Bandido are going to face off. So they had some of that in this match. They work well together. That seems like that's going to be a good booking, good match. Here's a moonsault spot for Kevin Knight that I'm going to give a point to, just for how beautiful that looked. Wow, that was picture perfect, man. That was an attraction for the crowd that day. I would remember that if I was there. Look at Kevin Knight here. Nice. All right. Another spot, I got some stereo flips here from Jet Speed and Bandido with the finisher in the ring, and Mascara Dorada with the shooting star press on Rocky Romero, who is already beaten down and senseless, and the babyfaces get the win over the Don Callis family on this night. Okay, so for the match itself, I wasn't really into it. I was into the spots. The spots looked nice, but I'm not going to give any points for the match. another 8-man tag match for this main event show. I think you could have checked out of the show a little bit early, maybe 20 minutes early, and not really have missed much. But all right, so I'm at 7.5 points on my Collision review. Not much. At least it was something positive, but for 2 hours, it's a lot. Like I said, they could have maybe scrunched this down into an hour show, not have had a matchup for money and filler things like that. But still, I'm not going to complain. At least AEW is trying to entertain us. It's free entertainment. What do you want, man? What do you want? It is what it is. I think Raw has been better. I gave Raw a good score this week. Raw had a very high score, so there you go. All right, so we're ready for Dynamite tonight. I will mention a couple more things before I go off the air here on YouTube Live. But on that same Saturday, the 19th, Konosuke Takeshita, AEW guy, is involved in the G1 Climax in New Japan. So he wasn't on Collision. He put in a good showing here at the G1 Climax, facing off against another AEW guy, Gabe Kidd. So Gabe Kidd, I think I noticed he wasn't with the Death Riders this week, so I guess he's in Japan. Putting in some hard matches. I'm not going to play highlights, but the finish here was that Konosuke choked out Gabe Kidd and rendered him unconscious. Very, very hard-fought match. Very, very extremely hard-fought match. And there was a bit of an afterbirth, too, as Gabe Kidd couldn't really take it, and they fought on. They got pulled apart. There was a pull apart, and a dramatic look, as I don't know if this will come back later on, but maybe they'll have another match at some point. But Gabe Kidd takes that loss very hard as he leaves the arena. All right. So then also, the very next night, July 20th, more G1 Climax action. Man, they got them on a rough schedule over there. After that hard-fought match with Gabe Kidd, he's got to face El Fantasmo the very next night, and not difficult to understand. After another hard-fought match, this one, he took a loss off this pile driver finisher, and he gave everything he had, but he has to be helped to the back for this one. So 1-1 so far for Takeshita, but he's putting in a good showing over there for AEW. But all right, so that'll conclude tonight's live stream. It was an all AEW day. I will be back. We got to do NXT, and then tonight is also Evolve and Impact tomorrow. So that's the next thing we got on the docket. Excitement for that. So yes, we'll be back to NXT and WWE Developmental World on the next live stream we do. For now, sayonara, hit subscribe, come back, check us out if there's any live streams that you missed. Listen to us while you're at work, while you're in the car, whatever. But yes, we will be back also with the Malapert Smart podcast. I'm thinking of doing a show maybe before SummerSlam with the boys, get the boys together. That should be fun. I'll get that together and invite them on, and we'll see. Hopefully they accept my invitation. I know they've been happy on their break from wrestling, but we need to teach them, we need to remind them who they really are. This is what it's all about, baby. Anything else is not important. The only thing that matters is wrestling.